Good morning, Jeff. I'm glad you could spend a minute or two with us this morning to talk about your experience working with younger physicians and, in general, the idea of tax management and debt management. And so, one of the first things I learned about you is that you work with a lot of young physicians, and you've come to understand the kind of double handicap that they experience. They're starting, 7 to 10 years later than their contemporaries in their working lives, and most of them have a mountain of debt when they get started. So they're behind in both time and in money when they start. So it becomes really important for them to focus on efficiency as they build their financial or their wealth. Can you talk to me a little bit about how you approach that issue with people in similar circumstances?
Yeah. In regards to financial wealth and wealth accumulation, there's certain things that are just absolutely non-negotiable. Number one, you need to maximize your retirement plan contributions, at least at a minimum up to the extent of the employer match. With average marginal tax rates for new physicians probably being somewhere in the neighborhood of 40%, you can think of every dollar that you contribute to a retirement plan is like a 40% off coupon.
Yeah.
And you're paying yourself. So why not take advantage of that 40% off coupon when you get all the savings? So every dollar you contribute to a retirement plan, your marginal tax rate, your tax bill goes down by 40 cents on the dollar. So it's a ROI of an immediate 40 cents on the dollar, plus there's probably an employer match. The power of compounding interest is undeniable, and every dollar contributed in your early career is worth $3 or $4 when you get to that retirement. So you have to start early to take advantage of those things. Number two, as you contribute to those retirement plans, your overall adjusted gross income goes down. And that's usually a good thing for those folks on income-based repayments, income-based loan repayment plans.
Sure.
So, there's all different types of vehicles to take advantage of, and you just have to do it right out of the bat.
So, yeah, and what a lot of people don't understand about marginal tax rates is that when you have to pay a non-deductible expense, you have to earn more than what the dollar is that you pay. And so when somebody has a debt that they need to pay the principal down on, and they're in a 40% tax bracket, it costs them more to pay that $1 of debt repayment than if they've reduced their tax bracket, that marginal tax bracket, down to 35 or 33%. Can you talk a little bit about the dynamic of that and how that brings efficiency to the overall plan?
Right. So if you're in the 40% marginal tax rate, if you earn $1.50, the first 40%, call it 50 cents of that $1.50 goes to taxes, so you're left with $1 to repay your loan. Well, if you can get your marginal rate down to the 33% bracket through different types of deductions and different types of contributions to certain plans and certain tax-advantaged investments, if you make $1.50, the government only gets 30 cents on the dollar.
Right.
So you're left with $1.20 to repay that $1 debt. So, there's all different types of different vehicles to help you get into a lower overall tax bracket.
Okay. If you had to place a hierarchy on what to do first, or what several things to do first. So you're a young resident, you've started your first job as an attending, you've got your first paycheck. You've got a 401k plan with an employer match. You've maybe started a Roth IRA while you were resident, and you've got $300,000 in student loan debt that you've established an income-based repayment plan on. Of those three things, is there one that you would focus on more than the other, or is there? Well, tell me, what are your thoughts about that?
If you're in the income-based repayment plan, number one, maximize your 401k to the maximum amount that is allowable under the current tax law.
Right.
That's going to reduce your AGI, your adjusted gross income.
Which is what affects the income-based payment.
Exactly. There's also the option to file married filing separate for those residents that are married.
Mm-hmm.
You file separate returns or joint returns that can also impact your income-based repayment. Okay. And so number 2, a Roth IRA is a beautiful investment. However, it does not reduce your adjusted gross income. So that's the negative. It doesn't reduce your gross income. However, the growth of that Roth IRA under current law is never going to be taxable.
Right.
So it's one of the few, I would call it legal tax avoidance things that we have in our tax code.
Right.
So you have to weigh those pros and cons of the Roth IRA. And there's limits to when you can contribute to a Roth IRA, and there's ways around those with a backdoor IRA, et cetera. But there's not a absolute, this is what this is what you have to do.
Right.
But there are different factors that come into play on everything. And, number 1, maximize your retirement plan contribution is probably high up on that list.
Right. And so you mentioned a little bit ago the idea of the magic of compounding interest. And what the effect of that is really most pronounced if you allow it to happen over decades. The opposite is true when you have it apply over a very short period of time. And one of the concepts that I talk to young residents about is the idea that they shouldn't forego investing and taking advantage of the 401k match and the maximum they can put into that to reduce their AGI, because they want to focus on paying the debt off. Now, and I there's nothing wrong with paying off debt. I advocate that. But I'm never comfortable with somebody who tells me that they want to focus exclusively on paying off their debt before they start investing for the future. And the example I use is if a young couple starts maximum depositing into a Roth IRA, put $11,000 in a year for 30 years, and you get just a 8% rate of return over those 30 years, you'll have $1,246,000 tax-free pot of money at the end of those 30 years. If you wait 5 years to do that, just 5 years waiting to do that, you end up with only $802,000. That's a full one-third reduction in the amount you have by just waiting 5 years. Debt, on the other hand, if you keep it short-term, the interest you pay on that is not so damaging. It's really damaging when you extend it out for long periods of time. So is that another good reason to think about starting on that and balancing out among those things to begin with?
Right. That $30,000 or 5 years times, I guess, what was it? $50,000.
Yeah.
That $50,000 contribution grows to $400,000.
Right.
That is all completely tax-free. If you would have just waited, if you would take that $50,000 and pay off your debt, great, you're out of debt a little bit sooner, but that cost you $400,000 long term.
Great way of putting it.
And so what is the bigger bang for your buck? Obviously, to put $50,000 into a Roth to get $400,000 is a heck of a lot better than getting out of debt 2 years sooner.
Right. Okay. That's great.